Hello, 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 and welcome back to Ascension TV online. I'm so happy to be with you again this week. And today I've got a beautiful friend of mine, Emma, who lives in Mid Wales, where near where I live. And like me, she was guided to this area. She's a beautiful soul, a shamanic healer, counselor. And actually, I keep seeing your posts and thinking, I'm going to have a session with you one day. Yoga teacher, newly trained sound healer. She's going to come and do sound healing at our ecstatic dance classes soon, which I'm really excited about. And she is also the creator of Nature, which is an amazing skincare company, a natural skincare company. So, Emma, tell me how you got to here. What is your story? Where have you come from, and what made you get to this point in your life?
Oh wow, a massive journey.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
so I'm originally from Swansea, down
Yeah,
in South Wales. I've moved around a bit of a nomad, but yeah, life is has been a tricky ride, but perfect. Where do I begin? So if I give a brief outline of my life so far, um, so I think I've probably worked my way through the trauma book of having
right.
different traumas.
Yeah, bless
Um,
you.
from the age of 3, going to school. School was really tough for me. Being highly sensitive and intuitive, being
Yeah,
in a school environment
sure.
was not good for me at all.
Yeah,
Um, but back in those days, you were dragged to school. Which was horrendous. Dragged to school and then dragged around by the teachers when you got there.
yeah,
Humiliated and all that sort of stuff. So it's had a profound effect on me, actually, the school stuff.
yeah.
Um, to the point where I just withdrew, disassociated, which affects me for a lot of my life.
Right.
Um, yeah, so that was tough. But the ironic thing of that is, so going to school, I'd be sick in the driveway going every morning. I'd
Oh,
have
bless.
tonsillitis every 2 weeks until they took them out. Asthma, all the things related to stress and the throat chakra and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So massive, massive effect. But the ironic thing of that is I fought all the way going to school and then I became a teacher. So taught for 20 years. I think I
Right.
probably went into it to try and change the system.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was an inclusion manager, worked with children with additional needs, mental health issues, behavior issues, emotional challenges, all that sort of stuff. So I think I was trying to change the system,
Yeah.
but it was like banging your head against the brick wall, really.
Sure. Oh,
So
bless you. Can I just say, right, this is funny because often say to people, if you went to school, you have trauma. And people kind of like, ha ha ha. Ha. But I really hear you because to me it's our formative years and yet it crushes you into this box. And you know what's coming up for me? Like I used to think, oh yeah, school was good. No, you did well. That wasn't that you enjoyed it because to me, like everything about school is set up for stress. I remember that not long ago realizing, you had a bell at the end, and the same bell was the end and the beginning of a lesson. So you couldn't leave until the bell was stopped, but you were meant to be there by the bell. I just occurred like there wasn't a gap, was there? No. So you're a child and you're having to navigate the corridors, avoid the bullies, avoid the places that are like, don't go in that place or whatever it was. And it's like already it's set up to, it's just like, and obviously that's minimal compared to the fact that you have to sit there, be quiet, put up your hand to go to the toilet, to the point where I find myself, oh, excuse me, can I, can I, you think? No, because it's 10 years of training, isn't it? Essentially 10, 11 years of full on training. And that's not even if you're sensitive like you. So I'm so sorry to hear. Like I wasn't sick like that, but my periods were terrible. So
Yeah.
every month it was like, yes, I don't like the pain, but I'm really happy to have a day of school. And I hid in the music rooms. That was my coping mechanism, right? So did you have like, obviously you went on to teach. And I remember people saying to me, "Oh, everyone's a teacher in your family, your mum. Why don't you teach?" And I was like, "No way!" Like I feel like I'd be traumatized as a teacher having to be in that such rigid system, which is look at your background. Like nature isn't rigid, you know. It
Yeah.
hasn't got boxes and edges, you know. So was there something that you did if you were in school, or something that you would maybe even recommend anyone that's sensitive, who's got sensitive kids going to school? I mean, what have you got any thoughts
I
about
think
that?
so. The only way I get asked about being school phobic is the name for it, isn't it? These days,
Right.
it wasn't a
Sure.
thing back then.
Yeah.
You were just dragged into school and you know not treated very nice. There were some
Yeah.
cruel teachers, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you would do as you told, and that was it. I can remember hiding in the cloakroom underneath all the coats to try and. So my nursery at 3 years old was 60 children, um, in two classes in one. So
Yeah.
60 children running around and all that sort of stuff. I had two strong teachers that used to shout all the time. Um, it was the worst possible scenario for me, I think. Um, so to be dragged in by my mum, I thought my mum had abandoned me because I was feeling so bad. And she
Sure.
literally
The
dragged me into
punishment.
the gate
Yeah.
and just walk off. Little did I know that she was crying all the way home. But to me, as a 3 year old,
Yeah.
it's like, oh
Yeah.
my God, my mum
You
has
don't see the
abandoned
other
me.
side, do
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
Yeah.
So feeling of abandonment was a massive thing. And not listened to or cared about, it is massive. It's a massive
Yeah.
thing.
It
Uh,
is. It's like neglect, isn't it? Because
yeah,
you're
absolutely.
not being connected to. And I see this like when I've been processing my kind of traumas and really minor traumas, but the feeling where you're in a situation but you're absolutely not connected to your heart, you feel invisible. So
I'm
even
totally
if it's,
powerless as well.
yeah, and powerless. And to
Yeah.
me that is some of the lasting stuff that is so subtle, because even if you weren't directly being shouted at, humiliated, or even hit, obviously in my era, I'm a little bit younger than you, we weren't hit, but for those that were, even if you didn't have that disconnect, you're used to being in a situation where you don't know how to be a person. And that's what I realized growing up. It's like, when did I actually have a real conversation? And I don't think it was until maybe sixth form. But by then, you're so withdrawn that you think, oh, this is how it is. I don't have a sense. I just do whatever the next. And you don't even realize, because you're trained and trained and trained. And so for me, it's not surprising the kids, more and more kids who are more sensitive, are going, no. And they call it command avoidant. And it's like, no, they're just honoring themselves and saying, fuck that shit. I'm not putting up with, like, yeah, like you said, teachers that take out their anger, their stress, their trauma on the children, isn't it? So
Yeah. So the only way I can describe it from my point of view, I've done a lot of inner child work and
sure.
healing on myself. Um, the only way I can describe it is claustrophobic. So I knew as soon as I went through that gate, my mum dragged me through the gate and then I was taken by a teacher. I
Yeah.
knew once I go through that gate, I can't come back out until that bell goes at the end of the day.
Sure.
So it was a very claustrophobic feeling. And I just spent the whole day in fear, really, and feeling
Sure.
trapped and all that sort of stuff.
Emma, can I ask you a question here? Because what's coming to mind is like something that works, that I've always kind of worked with, is something, anything from this life that we find challenging can be mirrors or parallels to other lives. Now I know we've talked about other lives, and if you've watched the show before, you'll know that it's not something I looked into. It was my lived experience as a kid to read books and be like, whoa, I can feel a memory feeling of me being in that era, time, place, right? So what's coming to mind is, I wonder whether for those of us, obviously, to me, there is an inherent like discrepancy with the way we could be living compared to the way that system is. However, the degree to which we feel challenged, I wonder whether there's something like if we've been locked up, if we've gone to, say, the poorhouse, if we'd been in, say, a job, yeah, that was like school with the bells, with the teachers, as in they're the works slaves, right? So what do you feel? Have you ever come across that? Because the other thing that's coming up is Auschwitz, like as though if we've had a life in a concentration camp, so as soon as you go in, there's an in, and
Yeah.
so all of those other fees. So have you come across that yourself, clients, or have you got any thoughts
So
about
yeah, so being shamanic, living shamanically, I've obviously done past lives and soul retrieval. I've done a lot of soul retrieval on myself,
that?
as well as others. But two that come to mind, you saying that was one, I was a young child as a chimney sweep. And I was four, I don't know, a boy, 5, 6, whatever it was. And I was forced up the chimneys by this guy who I don't know who he was in charge. Um, Forced to go up these chimneys, and I didn't want to go up the chimneys to clean them. So that was one, and the other one was in Auschwitz. Don't
Right.
know if it was Auschwitz, but it was a
One of,
concentration camp,
yeah.
and I was in the gas chamber. Um,
Right.
So yeah, I have had at least two
Yeah.
experiences of that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So my intuition then is spot on in
absolutely. Yeah.
that. So again, if you're watching this and you've had any of those types of fears, because I feel it's the same with jobs as well. So if you maybe you were not in Auschwitz, maybe the other side, and think how many people involved in that war. If you were a soldier that didn't really want to do what
Mm,
you were being told to do, you're going to have that pushback of like, oh God, the person in charge is, I might have to kill someone, I might have to do stuff I don't want to do, especially if you were a German soldier, because I think a lot of them, it was just like the terror of the whole weird situation. It wasn't like they were all monsters, but it's like, how do you know if you can push back or not,
yeah.
or you're going to be killed or your family or whatever. So yeah, and that's the thing that comes up if you've heard of Das Experiment, when they put people, just random volunteers, and that was actually in Germany, but into a prison situation, so randomly chosen prison guards and prisoners, and they had to shut the experiment within a week because it had just gone sadistic. Because as soon as people, the theory is, as soon as you're in a role, you more play into the role. So if you're in the power, all of the contorted power issues will come up, i.e. with teachers. And if you're in the victim one, there is like people call it learned helplessness. And I can't bear this whole victim shaming now. And it's like, we're fucking trained to be victims by the
Yeah.
way the world is. So you're shaming somebody for being a victim when they've actually had a big T trauma. Like, what the hell? Like, don't you
Yeah.
realize? Yes, we can say we've got this, higher self, but if you've had that much contraction and I just call it like crumpling, like car crashes, you've got to uncrumple to find yourself again, haven't you?
Yeah.
So tell me then, you were a teacher and you were working in school. Do you feel like you had some kind of positive effect, or did you end up thinking, I can't, it's no, banging your head against the wall?
Um, I I actually went into teaching to be an education psychologist to try and help
Hey, yeah.
children from that side of things. But to be an education psychologist at that time, you had to have 2 years of teaching and and a master's degree. So I did that. I got the teaching, got the master's degree, and then they moved the goalposts to you needed a doctorate. And I thought, oh, there's no way I'm going there because I did my teacher training. Um, I already had a son, so I started my teacher training with a 1-year-old who
Yeah.
didn't sleep. And I had my second boy on my final year of teaching practice. So I don't do anything by half. It's always the hard
No.
way. Um,
Incredible.
as well as renovating a house and being not been in a very good relationship. So yeah, so I don't do things by half at all. Um, so that's what I went into it, but obviously that wasn't where I was supposed to go. So I stayed in teaching. I probably should have gone out 10 years before I did.
Mm,
But you were, I think my life, I think I've certainly for the first 30 years, I was just trying to get through life. I was
sure.
just trying to, I disassociated, shut down from, very young, and I was just trying to get through life. I was just doing the things I was supposed to do, like from conditioning and what I'm
Yeah.
supposed to do in
Yeah,
society,
sure, sure, sure.
and um, just get through life, just get it done.
Yeah.
Um, which actually has come out in so I'm very much into human design, and it's been a life changer for me. And that
Mm,
is part of my human design.
yeah.
Um, so that was really interesting. I'm just going to go on to human design. That's what it's telling me to do.
I
So
love that.
the,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so the human design, it was just, I stumbled across it a couple of years ago, maybe two,
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm very much a person who likes to put patterns together. I should have probably been
Sure.
a forensic scientist or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, hey, no, to me, that's a shamanic trait because I've got that. People will call
uh,
it autistic, but to me, it's like, no, that's pattern spotting is massive for self-growth. So, no,
yeah.
I think
So
it's
I'm very much, and I like to embody and master things so
Mhm.
that I can not manipulate them in a good way. So
Yeah.
if I'm working with somebody, I can move that, I can
Yeah.
shift, I can know
Sure.
where to go for
Yeah.
different people, different circumstances.
Yeah. I love that.
Um, so the human design, I took it on as like a curiosity, as an experiment, because those voices were saying, "Oh, it's just a load of rubbish." Those voices that come in sometimes think, "Oh, it's not true.
Yeah.
It's a load of rubbish." So I took it on as an experiment with curiosity, and it's changed my life like drastically. I've never had energy, right? I've just been going through life. I've been on this journey for over a decade now of self-discovery and healing and all that sort of stuff. Um, but I've never had energy. I've always been fighting against myself, not aligned. So
Hey,
since doing the human design, I've become into alignment with
I
myself
love that.
because you accept
Yeah.
for yourself. So some of the characteristics that I have, um, I thought is because of all the traumas I've been through and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And actually, it's not. It's who I am. And
I love
possibly
that.
these traumas have just drawn me or pushed me, nudged me into
To that
who I
pattern and
actually
that
am.
characteristic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love
So,
that. I really love that. Emma, can I stop you there, right? Because
yeah,
I love human design. I really intuitively like feel, yes, this is lovely. And the same with gene keys. So
yeah,
I've
yeah,
done more work with gene keys. I've got my chart up on my in my kitchen and I check, the different orbs and what's happening and how I'm growing through that arc. But
yeah.
with the human design, because I want to give you an example and I'm going to ask you for an example. I was reading a blog on human design and I was sat in the car in my car park in the car park down from my flat, right? And I just got back from ecstatic dance and I had wanted to go out with this guy, right? Who's now my soulmate. You know this, right? And I'd asked him out that day and he said, "No, I don't want to go out tonight. I'm going to see my parents." So I was okay, fine. And I was pondering him on the way home from dance. And I sat in my car, read this thing, and the pattern for me, I'm a manifesting generator. And I'm gonna say I'd love to do a swap with you so I can find out more because you're an expert. And the thing that I read was you need to work when the arising feeling happens, not the same as everyone else. And you're nodding, so maybe you've got that.
Yeah.
It might look weird, but you've just got to do what feels right when it feels right and don't when it don't. And I was like, this is funny because I'm sat in my car. It's like 11 o'clock at night. There's snow on the ground. Why am I sitting in the car? But that's just what felt like I often need to ground when I've been driving because I'll have a little think and whatever. And I like to just all right, I'm back here, right? Anyway, I got out of the car and I was like, cool, man. I love that. It's epic because in this, like, think of what we just talked about, school, rigid, 9 till 3, 9 till 4, da da da. It's the industrial age. It's all about the industrial age, right? We wouldn't have had that, I don't think, in such degree, maybe in monasteries or training, spiritual schools. And I got out my car and I walked home, not far, and I literally bumped into Rob. And it was on that walk home that I was like, "Oh, I'm going to ask him out again. Do you want to go out for a walk tomorrow?" Yeah, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. And there we go. The rest is history. So, that one of your patterns? Because you were nodding away there, or tell
Oh,
me
right.
something that's come up for you, because that has been a game changer for me, and I still forget it. So,
Yeah.
but when I go with my flow it works.
Yeah.
So
So I have always been in that drive, and in my human design, I've got this drive, but I've got
yeah,
also got this stillness in as well. So
yeah,
my
yes,
whole life, and it shows up in my design, is extremes. I've been in extreme circumstances, extreme traumas,
yeah,
but I've also lived in the Caribbean and south of France. I've seen it's been extremes.
right,
Um, so I've always been because that's where I'm programmed is drive. You've got to, if you want something, you've got to go and get it. If
yeah,
you've got to keep going, keep going, keep going.
yeah,
And that's how I've lived my life. Don't do anything by halves. I've had three jobs going at the same time, sort of thing.
sure, yeah,
Yeah. So getting out of that was hard, and I still drop back into it now. I've had burnout three times.
yeah,
But yes, for going from so I'm a generator, but a very intuitive generator.
yeah,
Um, so for me, it's waiting for things to come to me. So instead of me going to look for them, which I've been trained to do, I've got to go and get
that's
it.
how we're trained, isn't it, in
It's
life?
what you're trained, conditioned to do.
Yeah,
It's all about sitting back and waiting for things to come to me and feeling into that, whether it aligns with me. And if it's a yes, then go for it. If it doesn't, then you
yeah,
leave it go. So it was a total shift for me. It was so instead of driving and going to get it, which wasn't happening for me at all,
mm,
it's now about waiting for things to come to me and tuning into that, whether it's yes or no, basically. So a lot of it is, as for me, has been as well as the Kundalini yoga and the somatic yoga, everything I've done really is about
mm,
getting more embodied,
yeah,
learning how to feel again, how to feel emotions again, which I
yeah,
shut it all down.
yeah,
Um, I remember going to a yoga class once, or years and years and years ago, probably about 15, 20 years ago. And they were saying, oh, just relax the body. And I didn't know how to relax the body. How do you relax the body?
yeah,
So I had to learn how to do all that, how to feel, in my body, how to, yeah, it's been a massive learning curve.
oh,
But
I love that.
yeah, but being more in alignment with myself through the human design, accepting myself for who I am,
Yeah,
um, making decisions the way I'm aligned to make decisions. Um,
yes,
I've got so much energy now, which I've
yeah,
never had. And it's
yeah,
like learning to do, oh, what do I do with all this energy? I can be hyper sometimes. I've never had that in my life.
right,
Um,
yeah. Yeah,
so
because
it's learning.
you've released your life energy. Can I ask you, Emma, are you at the point where you can do readings for people with human design, or is it something that you kind
Yeah.
of add in
So
if it's relevant? Like, how do people find out if they wanted to have that with you?
no, I think it's so important and so life-changing. I have to get it out there. And it's been
Yeah,
nagging at me for a while now. So I've
brilliant.
just started doing so I do reports, human design reports. It's all complicated, isn't it? If you go and Google it, it just seems all over.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
quite complex and complicated. So I want to make it accessible,
yeah,
which probably comes from my teaching as well. It's what I've done.
yeah,
Um, so I do reports and I've broken it down into easy sort of steps. And I do a consultation with the report, optional. You can either have a report or both. And
yeah.
I'm just writing online courses to go with each sort of module.
Beautiful.
Um, And I'm just starting a 6 month journey face to face with a small group of people. So that starts in a couple of weeks. And we'll go through that journey, 6 month journey together.
Amazing,
So,
amazing. And is that full up, or are you still taking applicants?
I've got a couple of places left.
Yeah,
I only work in small groups at the moment,
yeah,
purely because I work from home. So,
yeah.
yeah, so there's a couple of places of that left.
And how would they
Um,
get in touch with you, Emma, with that? And we'll put the link
Through the
below.
website or Facebook, or just give me a message or email or,
And
yeah,
so, yeah, we'll put the links below so you can contact Emma if you're interested in that. Because honest to goodness, that alone, that one pattern for me, it is hard because again, I was saying to my mum, right, I went flyering. Was it yesterday or the day before? So I run wellbeing fairs in mid Wales, and I go around all the towns and villages and I put my flyers up and what posters. And I feel like I'm wagging school. But if I do it on one of those upsurges of, yep, today's the day, it's always amazing. I meet the right people, or, I have these profound, like, I do healing in the car, or, I do some EFT as I'm driving along, or I have like downloads of next steps for some of my plans. Whereas if I'm thinking, part of me is I shouldn't do this. This is like no money, but I could pay somebody to do it, obviously, but I know that because I know what I want from it, they might miss all the thing, whatever. And it's like, no, I just listen to the next thing and I can plan my week. And sometimes it'll just go out the window because it's like, no, that was from here, not from the next arising step.
yeah,
So there is such a balance because in school we're like this, and part of me likes the routine because I find that quite grounding, but it doesn't always work. So really highly recommend it. And it's to me the same: astrology, gene keys, numerology, and human design. Like, get whatever way you look at yourself, you'll find out and feel at peace rather than fighting against your way, isn't
yeah.
it? Your nature.
And what I like is all the answers, everything, all the answers you're looking for is there. And
Mm.
it's just using those as keys, really, of ways in. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just an awesome thing to do. And as long as you come into it from curiosity and as an experiment, it doesn't define you as such. You're using it as a tool. It's another tool, isn't it?
Sure.
So don't
Right.
get sort of het up with, oh, I've got to be this and I've got to be that. It's using
Yeah.
it as a
Yeah.
tool to
Yeah,
grow.
it's like an invitation, isn't it? Because I see that as well with say astrology people like, oh, how can you? And it can be easy to go, well, because I'm this, and I've found that when having the autism diagnosis, I have found myself falling into a trap. Well, oh yeah, well, maybe because I have autism, and then I'm like, oh, whatever. I actually don't believe that, right?
Yeah,
Before I had the diagnosis, I was very much like, I'm a soul and everything else is just a fleeting aspect. So even with,
yeah,
to me, the human design Gene Keys astrology, the imprint that we come in with is just for this life. It's not who you are in the inherent self, but it's showing what can be influences in our life, which is a different thing. It's like saying, I knew as a kid my parents weren't really my parents, they're souls. So I'm like, well, whatever then. Like I know that I'm the same age as you because my inside remembers lives of being all sorts of people. I'm not a child, although I look like a child, so it's the same thing. So, can I just ask you on a personal thing, what's the difference? So you're a generator and I'm a manifesting generator. Do you know off the top of your head what's the difference between those? What?
yeah. The manifesting generator is a mix between a manifester and a generator. So you've got
Oh, of course. Yep, yep, yep.
so a manifested generator has both aspects basically, but you can move fast. A manifestor and generate, whereas a generator um, needs to not make those decisions straight away, and so it depends what authority you are. Um, so whereas we are pressured sometimes to make decisions on the go, we more often not make the wrong decision because we need that time to sort of leave those emotions go, get into a neutral place, and
Sure.
make an informed decision. Manifesting generators can, so manifestors are the spark. So there's no right or wrong, no better or worse. So
Yeah.
there's manifestors, generators, projectors, and reflectors, and we all make up a whole, basically. That's how the
Sure.
world as an engine, isn't it? So we're all different parts of that engine. So
Yeah.
manifestors are the spark, generators are the ones that take that spark and put it into
Oh, I
work, you know.
see. Yes, 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 yes.
So a manifesting generator is a mix of those.
Both, I got you. That makes a lot of sense because sometimes I feel like I have the spark, which I would say is like ideas, downloads, and then if I don't see it, I'm like I look around and I can see everyone doing this thing that I've done, even the names that have come to me. I'm like, shit, I missed the boat. But I also know, and this comes and goes, and I forget it. Years ago, I was shown how some of us are like satellites or transmitters. And this came through actually with a guy, DK Brainard, which I'd love to get on the show actually. And I had an astrology reading with him, and it was all about alien transits, which were the outer planets. So, like you sat wherever Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, Pluto are in your planets, because that's to do with the society rather than you, how it shows up and what you are to society. And within my reading, I had two of these, and they're very strong aspects where you're it's like you're picking up and feeding back, yeah, like a transmitter, like a radio transmitter. So I receive, like as a kid, because I would receive like knowings about how the world could be, and I'm seeing that play out. And I used to think, oh my God, I've got to do this and I've got to do it. And it's like, no, no, you don't have to do nothing. You just have to hold that as
Yeah,
a potentiality of reality, which is why a lot of new earth kind of, new earth visualizations, manifestations, we are all holding blueprints, aren't we? So that for me speaks in the sense of, yeah, I'll get sparks, but I don't have to be the one that plays it out. I could, like, everyone is playing their part in the the manifestation, yeah, of the new earth, right? So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
amazing.
So the planets are really interesting. Um, so the planets are used obviously in human design, but those
Mm,
planets mean different things. So what have you come
right.
to this earth to? You know, your life purpose. What are you here to learn? What are you here to?
Mm,
What's that deep, deep thing that you've been pushed down so far, which is linked to the Chiron planet and Black Lilith. So there's so many aspects to human design and the gene keys. It's got all the answers. It's just
love
how
that.
you access it, isn't it? And
Yeah,
how you want to work with that.
yeah,
And see it as an experiment and curiosity and a game. That's how I look at it. Oh God,
sure,
right, okay,
sure.
where can I go now? What do I need to do?
I love that. And I feel like that's been a bit of my journey with astrology. Like I'm by no means an expert, but I had my charts, done for me, and not just the chart, but all the aspects all printed out. And every time I look at it, it's like another key will unlock. When you first get it, you're like, whoa.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
bit by bit, you're like, oh, that's that aspect. I mean,
yeah,
even to point, one of them, it said, you may have had a spacious family home growing up, but something, something. And I was like, yeah, we did. We had, it wasn't a mansion by any means, but it was a detached four-bedroom house on half an acre of land down to the river, and that was amazing, but also really isolated. It was like a gilded cage, We were in a house, high, what you call it, hedges all around. It's like being in a bubble. It's really, really weird, It
yeah,
just happened to be the house that my parents found when we moved up from London. But everything like that is formulative. And I feel sometimes I say to my partner, we're looking for a house. We live in flats. We were guided, and I feel like I'm in a prison but it's the same feeling from childhood. But the flip side, obviously, is I write books and I ponder, and I've said to people I travel without moving, the Jamiroquai song, right? And it's like, is that bad? Is it good? No, it's not. There's no judgment needed. It's
yeah,
part of what made me me, because
yeah.
like you in the school and withdrawing and being sensitive, I just went inwards. And of course, like as you know, as a shamanic practitioner in a type, you know, I don't have my this life training, but I certainly do from other lives, as far as I'm aware. You know, that's the inner world. You know, the kingdom of heaven is within, going within and noticing what you're feeling and being, you know, connecting to spirit and things like this. That would not have happened had I been in a community where they were talking, you know, I was talking to me. And there's a blessing and a curse on both versions, isn't it? So it's, you know, finding that out. What I find is what I have found is it almost gives you permission. Like you said, there's almost the idea that, oh, I'm bad because I had trauma, rather than maybe the trauma was informing the patterns that actually helped me be more me, which is going to lead to me living my purpose, which is a very different take on it.
Yeah, and do you know what? The traumas. I read something the other day about if you're going through a trauma, or if you see somebody going through something bad, it means that they're a badass because they are capable and have the capacity to deal with it. Because it's
Yes,
through those things that you learn, right? That's how
it
you
is.
grow. If you just went through life like happy, which we're programmed to think that we should be on this happy level
Sure.
all the time,
Yeah.
it's going against your natural cycles. The natural cycle is those highs and the lows. It's part of the whole
Yeah.
process, and you
I've
have to
got
go
you with
through
that.
those
Yeah.
to um to learn. We're on this
To
earth to
grow.
learn, right? And
Yeah,
and
I
grow.
really hear you with that. And as a child, I would think if something shitty happened, I would be like, oh, well, it's karma. And the same for other people. And people are like, oh, and I'm like, am I meant to feel bad? So I don't, because in my mind, something really deep inside was like, that's your karma. You've obviously done something shitty. And it's not about having punishment, which is definitely like I've had to do a lot of work on. I didn't I there was a flippancy, but there was the true feeling inside, which is the essence of if you do something like challenging, you might choose to have the opposite to be to it's a twofold purpose as well, I want to say. Not so that you only suffer what you created for someone else to go, oh yeah, okay, but you're also giving somebody else the opportunity to play the bad guy to then go, oh fuck, that's not that great to do. Because if no one wanted to play that victim, then somebody couldn't play the persecutor to then go through a growth cycle to go, oh, actually, think, you know, get back to spirit, going, oh, that wasn't so good. Oh, I see now, right? That's why you know, this option isn't so great. Because if you see life as a school, then it's always, you can always learn. And it, you know, to the people that are skating along, good for you, because you probably chose a resting life. You've probably heard of that, Emma. You know,
Yeah,
we to me, I but really believe we choose things pre-life, you
yeah.
know. So we all I what I see though is you almost have to be in the game to have the experiences, and then you will feel like the victim and you will feel powerless and you feel all that, and then you shake it off and go, oh, right, that's what that feels like. And if you judge yourself, you're going to be judging everyone else. If you don't judge yourself and go, oh, right, you just unlock. I'm just seeing this picture of unlocking, and it's like you can just see the play games playing out, which to me is really why we have to live and let live. Because if you start meddling, oh, that person's suffering, you don't know what they've organized
Yeah,
with this
no, yeah.
soulmate. You don't know what they're playing out. And yes, it may look shitty, yes, it may look horrendous abuse, but you don't know what that other person's done in another life, you know. It's
And also, nobody needs fixing, right? Because this is part of our journey. The number of
yeah.
times looking back on my life,
Mm.
and I've been in some really bad places, it's been yeah, tough, but it's all for a reason because now I think I can as a healer and a counselor, I can offer more in depth, more
Yeah,
empathy on I've been there, I've
yeah,
been
yeah.
so all that is has been setting me up for now, for my
Yes,
business and what I'm here to
yes,
do, my life purpose.
yeah.
But so many things, looking back on my life, you think, and it's the most rubbish situation, you think, oh, well, actually, if that didn't happen, then this wouldn't have happened. And you
Yeah.
can see all everything like clicking together. Think, oh, right, okay, well,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. And do you know what's coming to mind is I had beaten myself up. So last year, I launched my book, Who Called You Crazy? And I haven't pushed, I haven't gone out into the world because, like you, I'm kind of formulating online courses, which would be the next step and blah, blah, blah. And the script in my ear, yeah, blah, 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 you're so crap, you didn't do it yet. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like when I look back, what did happen in the interim of writing the book, getting it almost published and then stepping back was being in other books, learning a different way of and learning, because the first book, the first as like the majority of the content of that book came like in a download, but I had no experience in publishing. I had no experience in marketing. I didn't have a website back then, or I think I had one and I would get rid of it every 6 months or something. I didn't
yeah.
have the offering, I didn't have the coaching. And so now it's like, oh yeah, I'm a published author because I'm already a published author. It doesn't feel this big thing. And I'm all, but for me also the arc was healing all the parts of feeling shame of being sectioned, feeling, seeing the parallels of other lives. Was I a perpetrator? Like I locked up other people when, and I was locked up in this life and da. And you just again, you just couldn't have made up the timing that it was that actually brought it all together. To the point where now, I'll know how to do that. I've got another book, that I'm working on at the moment, and other like loads of other books in the pipeline, So yeah, if you're watching this and you're thinking, what the hell has my life been? I said to somebody years ago, oh, my life's been a shit show, mate. And he was like, can't say that. And I was like, no, I really can. Like literally I can, because from the outside world, it's just like, what the hell are you doing? But on a soul level, we grow a branch. I often use, the analogy of the tree comes to me when I need an analogy as well. We grow a branch and it starts growing. Oh, it snaps off. Okay, bye, fine, another one. But, and we're developing all of these things, but we don't say to an oak, oh, look, you snapped off five like branches, you're crappy, you're not a tree anymore. We go, oh, look at the beautiful majestic oak, because it's
And also, when all that's happening, your roots are going deeper and deeper and
deeper.
deeper, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah,
really get you with that. And that I've got a Kuan Yin card deck, and it's got the blossoming lotus. No, it's the bamboo. It's the something about the bamboo. But the talk to kids, it
yeah,
takes 5 years to bamboo for like grow that much. But meanwhile, the roots have got big so that then it can go big. So
yeah.
again, if you're watching this and you're like, oh my God, like take stock, take heed. It's fine. You obviously chose a lot of lessons, and it's like I've got on my website a quote from Katumi, Francis of Assisi. Um, you know, Saint Francis of Assisi, rather. Do the possible, then you'll do what's necessary. No, do what's necessary, then you'll do what's possible, and then you'll do the impossible. And a lot for I used to say, right, in my 20s, it's going to take me another 20 years to process the first 20 years. And I've heard other people say it, and then you start living. And I'm like
Yeah.
44, I'm going to be 45 this year, and I'm like, what? I only feel about 12. But like it's because I have been processing. Yes, we don't want to look to the past, we don't want to manifest the past, but if you've got shit that you didn't resolve, it's a challenge that you didn't learn through. It's part of your curriculum. So when you look at trauma as just healing, you may just want to get over it. But if you turn it into, what was I learning? What was the
Yeah,
texture? What
absolutely.
was it? It becomes a whole different thing, doesn't it? And then you're growing the forest, of your life, and the textures and all of that. So
And if you
really
keep
love that.
going through those layers, I mean, God, there's so many layers, isn't there, to get through when you're trying to heal and get to the root of things. But you will eventually get to the root.
Mm.
It might take a while, but you will get there. And then that's your lesson. It's got once the root comes out,
It's gone.
like
Yeah,
it's gone.
yeah, yeah.
I think I was saying to you before, it's of um doing being seen is a massive fear for me. Was a massive fear for me.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
it all comes from being in the school as a 3-year-old, where you try and disappear, be invisible. Um, and I've done so much inner child work and healing and soul retrieval from those parts of
Yeah.
me. Um, But actually, recently I've got to the root of that, and it's come out like a volcano, um, and it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah,
So
really
so
get you
just
with
keep
that.
going, just keep
Yeah,
going, keep going,
yeah,
and it's going through those cycles, isn't it? Sometimes, those. I'm a big thing about cycles. You have to go through the whole cycle. So it's
yeah,
okay to feel down and a bit sad today, or I'm tired, I need to rest today. It's okay to do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
In fact, it's more than okay. You need to do it
yeah.
because you can't, we're not machines, and we're part of nature, and nature is part of cycles. So
I
it's
so hear you with that.
learning to live in those cycles is,
It's
yeah, vital.
It's
Absolutely
massive,
vital.
isn't it? And I keep getting shown the cycle of the year, and obviously we have the cycle of the day. It's the same cycle of breath. It's the same.
Yeah,
There's a beginning, a middle, and end, and it
yeah.
never stops. So it's the same. If you've got a challenge, I'm going to say challenge rather than a trauma. You think of the spring, and it's like all new thing. Something happens, the peak. It's summer, and then there's the waning of it. It will pass, but sometimes it takes for the saps to go down to have the wisdom, and then we draw within. It's like the outer and the inner, the subconscious, the conscious. So and sometimes it's not time to say heal one, or let's say learn the last lesson, because this autumn part, maybe there's a reason that is there, so that you learn something else, like me not publishing the book. In the gap, oh boy, have I done some work for me to finally come back into spring and be like, great, I've got the book now, and now I'm in the next cycle. So
And
really
also
love that.
feelings, feelings of anger and frustration are really good, in a positive way, because
Mm.
those are the feelings that are going to get you over that hump,
Drive, yeah,
out of that depression and that sort of stuff. So frustration and anger can be a good thing. We've got those feelings for a reason, and those are what gets us going again, our energy going, isn't it? Our Kundalini going.
yeah,
Um,
that.
be able to go through that
To
cycle
keep it
again.
going,
So
yeah.
it's,
I have had many discussions with different friend healers about anger and how we process it. And the vision that kept coming years ago was that anger is literally the moment when the dam bursts. So, like, if the river is life force and trauma is the challenges, sorry, the rocks are the challenges slash trauma slash setbacks slash limiting belief. At some point the dam bursts, and the force is so big. And like, when we have a trauma, I often see it as a crumpling, and this is something I use with clients, just to say, look, it's, all we're doing is uncrumpling. We're decompressing, and that moment of impact when it's just so much force, there's got to be change. And I've got a book that I read almost every day, an angelic healing book, and in it there's a thing saying, shout at God, tell him, or tell him, her, whatever, the
yeah.
divine, say what you're angry about, because the minute you do is the minute you finally say, fuck this shit. I ain't doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Enough. What do I like? It's like you're on your knees. What do I need to know about this? And
Yeah.
it's in that moment. Oh, I see, when I've had a thing come up, I'll go into shame, which has always been a very big, oh no, I've got a thing, I'm bad. Then it's self-denigration. And then at some point I'm like, right, fuck this shit. Ah, can you help me? I know you're there, spirit. Just tell me. And the chink, the door opens, boom, all the answers come in. But while you're compressed, that suppression is that feeling of helplessness. And it's not something to blame ourselves about, because if you had that as a child, that sets us up. But
Yeah.
then when you've healed it, you have the compassion for other people that are living that. It's not a shame blame thing. It's always learn. What can I learn? What's the answer? What's the solution? And it shifts then, doesn't it?
And
So
it's honoring how you feel, right? Because if you are feeling down, that's a good time just to go inwards and just think, well, actually, how do I feel?
yeah,
It's that stopping, isn't it? And
yeah,
pausing, right? Well,
yeah,
actually, how do I feel? Journaling, get it out.
yeah,
If you're feeling angry, use it, isn't it? Use it to channel it into something that you don't particularly want to do and but need to do. Sometimes I do that. I've got a job I need to do. I really don't want to do it, so I use the anger to sort of frustration to get it
Absolutely.
done, and that's so it's honoring how you feel, and it's all energy, right? So emotions don't define you. That they're just energy. It's just energy that you need to
Just
move through you and leave it just
texture.
flow.
Yeah,
Yeah. So if
can
you've got
really
that
get you with that.
energy and frustration and stuff, do something to get this energy has to go somewhere, right? So
Needs
you
to
have to
move.
do
Yeah.
something with
Yeah,
it.
I really get you with that. And
Yeah.
it's honestly, it's the work that I do with clients majoritively is, it's feel the feeling because, they'll ask, oh, what should I do about this or something. It's like, I don't need to know the answer. Once you've felt your angst and let it admit the feeling, the
Yeah.
answer will drop in. And if the answer isn't dropping in, it's because it's not time for it to drop in. You've got something to just acknowledge, and you don't have to be in it. You can just acknowledge this is the Vipassana thing. It's just see what it is, accept and love, and then it passes through and you come back, the ease comes. So I just so yeah, I could talk about this subject
Yeah,
a
I know.
lot, but I'm aware we've been on now for nearly an hour. Because it's a thing, and if you're struggling, if you're watching this, you're struggling with anything, reach out for one of us or both, have a chat, see if we can help you, because getting unstuck and flowing that river of life is, that's the sweet spot. It is like we all know what it's like if you're running or you're dancing or you're painting, whatever is your flow. We know how good that feels, but there are hiccups, there are roadblocks, there are dams along the way that you have to navigate, and sometimes you just need somebody. And I have learned you need to ask for help, because again, didn't feel like there was anyone that wanted to help as a kid. It's do this or you failed kind of thing. But no, it's not. We're in a very different age now, and that's really why I love to do these shows, to just explore different themes to help you flow like the waterfall behind you. Emma, if you have something that you'd love to pass on to somebody today, a tip or a tool or a message, what would that be?
Yeah, I'm actually getting really strong feelings to mention about so anybody who's rock bottom, I've been there, don't want to be here any longer, um,
Yeah.
as low as you can possibly go. That was probably the best thing that could have happened to me. So if you're in that situation, reach out for help if you need to, because it's a really good turning point in your life. For me, it was an initiation. So that was
Yes.
me at rock bottom. I could let go of all the conditioning, all the things that have happened, and
Yes.
build myself up as my authentic self. And that was the start of my journey, probably 15 years ago now, 10, 15
Oh,
years ago.
yeah.
Um, but it was absolutely the best thing that could have happened to me in this lifetime. So if you
Absolutely.
are in that situation, use it to become you and not what you're
Yes.
told to be. So I'm feeling
Oh,
strongly about that.
oh,
Um,
thank you, Emma.
and the
Yeah.
other thing is PTSD. I've overcome PTSD. Um, so I just want to say there is hope there. You've just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other and just keep going, keep going. You might have to rest sometimes, and that's
Yep.
perfectly fine. You might need to ask for support and help, which is
Yeah.
great. Because that's a skill in itself, I think, asking for
Yeah.
help.
Really is. I really
Yeah,
believe that.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
But
Emma, thank you. And that I can really feel, the wisdom in that, because I'm getting kind of truth shivers about this. The year that I was trying to get my book finished was actually the year that I got pregnant, and I'd only just got with Rob, and it brought up so much stuff. And I always had the idea that being pregnant would be like the best thing ever. And I used to think, oh, I'd always keep a child. It doesn't matter what the situation. And oh, la 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 la. And then bit by bit, the years went on. No, no, no babies, not even random pregnancies. I'm like, seriously, what the hell? And I used to say to people, if it, I, again, because my intuition was, you can't just make a baby happen. There's got to be a soul that wants to come to you. And if it does, it's because it's ordained. It's not like, we don't get a conscious choice necessarily. And it didn't come, and then it came, and I was like, oh my God, it brought up all the stuff, and I clung on because I had a affair, and then we miscarried, and la 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 la. But that I would say was one of my rock bottoms in the last few years, and but the gift of it was showing me how much PTSD I still had about being section, because a lot of the fears was for me around how would I bring up a child authentically in this world, because it wouldn't be going to a regular school, and I just I don't like how this modern world is, so I ain't going to put a child into that. Obviously, to me, some souls want differently than what you think as the parent, so obviously there would be a thing to navigate with that. But it pushed me actually to go and get counselling. I actually went to the doctor. Somebody said, you can get free counselling, you may as well. Okay, fine. It took me ages to get it, but actually that faced another fear, because I had to deal with people in the system, and because of being sectioned, I had this: no one in the system is safe for me, nobody thinks spiritually. Actually, this particular person I found was really, I think I had a slightly wider bandwidth of reality, but hers was wide enough to be able to hold me. Because I see, if that's why a lot of us as healers will go through the rinser, not
Mm.
just because of that. To me, a lot of us, we're doing our soul work, we're doing a lot of we're doing our ascension work so that we can come back to coherence and learn all the lessons from other lives. But you have to have somebody that's got the scope to hold you, haven't they? So thank you for the reminder, because it was hideous, but so much came from it that you come to neutrality and you're like, wow, thank you, that was
Yeah.
just what I needed, even though you'd never choose it, but it was the
Oh, it's the toughest thing you can do. It's one of the toughest things you go through, but it's just like a reset.
yeah,
And if you can get the support you need and to get through that and just keep going, just one step at a time, isn't it? And yeah,
beautiful,
it'll be
beautiful.
worth it.
Yeah. So he really take from this, all is not lost. A lot of learning is going to come from whatever you might be going through, and get help. Reach out, message us, or find somebody, talk to your friend, whatever it is. And that was actually the thing, actually going and getting that counseling. It was so humbling. It's like, oh God, I can stop, because I learned growing up there's no one that's got your back emotionally, spiritually, which is fine. That was the era. It's the 80s. Most parents, people know, it wasn't that common, and we are the time that we're changing the narrative, we're doing the work, we're coming back to peace, reminding ourselves of our true nature, isn't it? So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Emma. I could continue chatting along this vein and about many other things again, but we'll have you back on the show. I'm going to say thank you so much, Emma. It's been a pleasure to chat with you today. Thank you to the viewers. If you've got any questions for us, again, pop them in the comments below, and you can reach out to either of us and discuss anything that's come up. And if if something's come up as a result of the conversation, please reach out or go to the people in your support network. Don't be alone, because it can be a tough time on earth, because there's so much going on, but it can be the best time of growth. So be with what arises, and bless you all, and we'll see you next time on Ascension TV Online. Bye for now, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.